Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about the introduction part of Jnana Yoga so that those who are new to this can understand it, and those who already heard it, this would be great to kind of revisit it and remind yourself. Like anything else in life, if you do something just once, it's not going to work. Like if you go to the gym to get six-pack abs, you're not going to get that by just going to the gym once. So it is something that you have to do it regularly if you want results, and if you want to keep a long-term anything, you have to do it for a while regularly, make it a habit. So what is Jnana Yoga, and why do we even want to talk about this? What Jnana Yoga is defined as the knowledge of the ultimate. Once you get this knowledge, you pretty much get the knowledge of the most important parts of life, like who am I? Why am I born to such and such family? Why am I unhappy? Why is there so much suffering in this world? A lot of these questions that we always wonder, and why can't I able to get what I want in life, whether it's money or fame or fortune. Like no matter what you do, some reason it seems like you're not in control of your life. And why am I not in control of my life? Why things have to happen the way they happen? Why can't they happen exactly the way I planned for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? You know, random things happen that change the path of your life to something else that you never thought would happen, like divorces and death of the dear ones, sudden things that happen like economy crashes and great thriving business tanks overnight and you have to lose your house or cars. So all these things happen, so people wonder, why does this stuff happen? For example, another question somebody would ask is, why can't I see God? You know, is there a God? Who made me, and why did this person make me if there was a God? Is there a God to begin with, and what does he look like? And when I die, what happens to me? Where do I go? So there's all these questions. So Jnana Yoga is really a great knowledge that by having it, all these questions get answered, and you will no longer have to ask these questions anymore. So most of your important questions will be answered, and any other questions is really related to objective knowledge like chemistry, physics, where you obviously you need to read a book. But this one is something that you can't read in a book to really get it. This is something that needs to be taught by someone, like a teacher. You can consider me as a teacher, someone who was taught by another teacher. It's kind of passed on for the last 12,000 years in southern India. So this is Jnana Yoga is something that's been tested, time tested over and over for centuries by each generation, passed on from family to family, or guru to a student. So I am here attempting to pass my knowledge on to you, the student, the genuine student who really wants to end all suffering and get all the answers to all the questions that you have. So this is my attempt to make these videos for those true students who really want to get the ultimate answers, the ultimate knowledge, which really leads to a permanent bliss, means never-ending happiness. Not something that comes once in a while. If you buy a new car, you're happy, and then the car gets old, you're unhappy, now you need another car. It's not like that. This is something where once you get this knowledge and you actually experience this knowledge and test it for yourself to see if it's even true, if what I am saying to you is even true or not, you will discover for yourself, and then you ultimately achieve that true happiness that I have achieved in my lifetime. Again, it takes different people, different, I guess, time as far as how many years does it take, or does it happen in a moment? So it's all different for each person. Somebody could wake up one day and just become self-realized, and somebody could spend a whole lifetime trying to learn Jnana Yoga and become enlightened. So, and sometimes it never happens, even no matter what you do. So ultimately, we don't know who will end up becoming enlightened, but my try is to bring this knowledge, this secret knowledge that very few have on our planet. Hopefully you can use this knowledge to see if you have that seed for enlightenment, because if you don't have that seed, no matter what you do, you will not become enlightened. So I'm hoping whoever finds these videos, hopefully you are meant to see these videos so that you can become enlightened, like Buddha, like many other great people on our planet. Hopefully you will have that opportunity to learn from these videos and readings, and hopefully something will change and something will transform in you that will help you. So to get started, one of the stories that are always been told is of snake and the rope. So I'll tell you this story and I will pause for a moment so that you can try to answer the questions, and then I'll reveal the answers to you. So one of the stories of this snake and the rope is someone was walking in a dark space in some small town somewhere, and it was dimly lit. So the person is walking through and he sees a snake, and suddenly he's afraid. He heard about the snakes in the town, and he runs, and his heart starts to beat heavy, and he's out of breath. So it's a really physical reaction to that snake that he saw. Now that person is resting while another person passes the same path and sees that snake, but this person doesn't really react, and he just calmly keeps walking. And the person who was out of breath stops this new person and asks, "Hey, didn't you see the snake?" And the person says, "I didn't think it was a snake." And then he was curious, so he goes back, he looks closer, he puts in more light onto that snake, and he finally realizes, wait a minute, it's something else. And he picks it up and he looks at it and he realizes that it is not a snake, it's actually a rope. So then he tells the person who ran away, afraid of the snake, to come closer, and then the person comes closer and looks at the snake in a better light, and he also gets convinced that it is not a snake, it's a rope. So here's a question to you. Where did the snake come from in the beginning of the story? And then where did the snake disappear to? And then where did the rope come from that wasn't there before in the story? So I'm going to give you a moment again and try to figure this out. So where did the snake come from? Was it always there when the first person saw it? So please take a moment to answer that. And then how did he see that snake? If it wasn't the snake, how did he see it? What made him see the snake when it's actually all along the rope? And then when did he realize that it's not a snake anymore, it actually is a rope? What had to happen for him to realize that it's not a snake, it's a rope? Take a moment. So what I will have to say to this story is the snake really came from the five senses. The light was dimly lit, so the rope kind of looked like the scales of a snake to that first person who observed it. So that means that our eyes can deceive us. And what looks like a rope could look like a snake if it looks similar enough. That's one. Second is that our memory uses that information of that snake and then creates a story of a snake and how it's poisonous and how it's in this area. People saw it before, and that's why he was convinced it's a snake, and he ran like hell to escape from a poisonous snake. So our eyes can deceive us not always what we see is always true. So remember that. So our five senses can deceive us. Second is that our memory has to be there for us to trigger that image of that snake. So five senses plus our memory, our intellect, our mind has to make up a story. Without that story, he wouldn't have been afraid of that snake. So if somebody never ever taught what a snake looks like, the eyes would not have deceived. Somebody who never were taught what snake can do, that it can bite and kill you, if somebody didn't hear that story from somebody, from a family or a friend or school or books or television, he would have never known, so he wouldn't have been afraid of that snake. So our eyes can deceive us and our brain can create a story that might be false story and make us believe that it's a real story, that it's a real snake and you should run. And that's how it ended up having a physical reaction, which is real. Like he could have had a heart attack if he was old and weak-hearted. He could have had a heart attack and died right on the spot. So it is a real thing. So our eyes and our brain can give us a false image, create a story that's non-existent. And sometimes I repeat this over and over. Please bear with me because these concepts are very crucial for Jnana Yoga. If you don't get these concepts early on, you will lose it and you will be very confused. So I'll sometimes repeat it, I'm slow, and I will do it over and over. And it's just like workout. When you lift weights over and over, you will get stronger and get more muscle tone. Same way, over and over you hear these concepts, you get stronger and stronger mind to understand even deeper concepts. Because some of the things I'll reveal in the future videos are almost scientific. So scientific, like you're learning physics in a lab or chemistry or biology. It gets very, very complicated, very tricky, very confusing and very heavy, mentally heavy. So these stories kind of help you kind of give you that clarity that you need in the future, the focus you need by kind of following these stories and kind of understanding the core philosophy of these different stories that I'll talk about as we go along. So in conclusion, the snake appeared again is because of eyes have deceived. It looked like a snake, that's why it's a rope, and the mind made up a story, and then that's why the snake appeared. Now snake disappeared because a new person entered, and the new person gave a new knowledge of that snake. He literally put more light. Light is like a tool, just like any other tool. It shined on that rope and then and snake, and the snake didn't look like snake after there's extra light. So Jnana Yoga is like that extra light where it shines through its knowledge so that what may look like was something else ends up revealing that its true nature. So Jnana Yoga reveals the true nature of anything that you're thinking that might not be true. It might be a false thing, but Jnana Yoga sheds that light. So in this case, the light is a tool, like a knowledge that shine light on that snake, and the snake disappeared and the rope appeared because that's the reality. It's always been the rope. And then when the person picked it up and analyzed even further, he was convinced that it's a rope. And then that new person motivated the old person who was afraid, or the first person, to come closer and look in light again. And he looked at it, he experienced it. That's the key here, that he didn't just believe the other person, oh, it was a rope. No, he literally had to come closer and touch it, hold it, see it in a better light. And that's what Jnana Yoga is. This is different than reading a book. Reading a book is just conceptual, you just believe it. But in this case, when I make these videos and I want you to listen to me, I'm not saying just listen. I want you to actually experience this these words in reality. So when I tell you to do something as a homework or something you need to do as a meditative practice or anything else, I want you to actually do it, because if you don't do it, you will really not achieve the ultimate goal of happiness that I'm talking about here. So just like that person touched it and looked at it in a better light and then realized finally that, wait, that's not a snake, it's just a rope. Same way, when I tell you about Jnana Yoga and tell you different things, that stories and analogies, concepts, I want you to try them for real, like shedding the light. Actually use your mind and body and spirit to kind of test these theories and really see if they're true or not, because that's the difference between some other knowledge and the Jnana Yoga knowledge. This is actually time tested for 12,000 years, passed on from one enlightened being to another, family to family, student to teacher to student. So these are all something that each student had to actually go through and actually qualify that these stories are could be true and they are realistic, and that they can be disproved or proved and analyzed in a real world fashion. So I hope this story gives you an analogy that what you see from your eyes, what your mind believes, might not be true. So I want you to remember this. This is a lesson for this video. If you get anything from this video, what you should get is that your five senses can always deceive you, and your mind can always make up a false story where the rope's supposed to be a rope, but it made it to a snake, and it gave a physical, biological reaction, and which could actually hurt people. Like I said, if it's a weak heart, somebody could get a heart attack. So we have to be careful to realize what you're seeing and what the story is actually is real, and that's where Jnana Yoga brings light onto false realities. So object of or the goal of Jnana Yoga and the goal of me as a teacher teaching you is to remove all your false realities. What you think who you are might not be really who you are. So you're going to start to discover all the concepts that you have of yourself might not be all of them true, you know. So get ready. It could sometimes get a little freaky, because all your ideas you ever had about yourself might not be real, and suddenly you might get scared saying, oh, wait a minute, if all the things that I thought about myself weren't real, then who am I? And then you may feel scared because you don't want to find out. So trust me, nothing will go wrong. You will be fine. You will just get more peaceful, more happy, more smiling all the time. That's what's going to happen. Nothing scary will happen if you lose what you thought who you were. You lost. Like, just like the snake, you know, if what we thought we were, like the snake appearance, and that underneath you're really not who you think you are, you're actually a rope, which might be mean in this case, that you're a happier person by nature, that you're a peaceful person by nature, you're a compassionate person by nature, like the rope. Instead, maybe you have false ideas of who you are. Maybe you think you are a more angry person or a more unhappy person, but that might not be true. But your brain, your stories may create that illusion that you are this negative person, but you might not be at all. So as we go along, you will discover these truths about yourself. As far as your happiness, unhappiness, pain, suffering, anger, resentment, all these experiences you're having, they may be happening because of the way you perceive yourself, the way you created a story about yourself. So sometimes because of a childhood trauma, or because of an abuse, or because somebody told you that, you know, you're not going to be anything, become anything, and then you think it's real, that you are not capable of achieving something. So you can convince yourself sometimes growing up that you don't deserve success, or like. So I just want you to know, these are the kind of things that we're going to be dealing with throughout the next few videos that I will be doing. You will discover that a lot of the stories, a lot of the ideas, the concepts of who am I are all false. You will notice that as we start going through this knowledge. You will start to destroy these concepts that are kind of a reason why you're suffering in the first place. So the stories, the concepts, the ideas, everything starts to get destroyed in the process of the new light or the new knowledge that you'll be getting. So sometimes people ask this question, who am I? And the answer usually is, I am Ray, or I am, you know, John, or I am Ellen, I am Johnny, and I am 6 foot tall, I am Jewish or Indian, I am this, I am that, I am a doctor, I am a rich billionaire, I am a famous actor. So these are all the kind of answers we normally give. So it's really a name, a title, and a shape of a body, like tall, short, fat. Like, so usually whenever somebody has to describe themselves, usually that's what they say. So in Jnana Yoga terms, basically we use the term body, mind, intellect, BMI. So whenever somebody asks, who am I, you usually describe either your body, the way you're shaped, oh, I'm a supermodel, or I am a strong, muscular man, kind of like, so, or you'll say, I am smart, I have a PhD, so it's like, that's like the mind and the intellect. So, but are you really that? That is a question. So, for example, if I gave you an experimental question, and I'll pause so you can answer this question. If you said to me, I am such and such woman or man, I am smart, I am a business owner, I work here, let's just say those are your answers. But what happens when I ask you, does your body, mind, intellect exist in your deep, dreamless sleep? And so if you're deep, dreamless sleep, if I ask you a question, does your body exist? Does your mind exist? Does your intellect exist in your deep sleep? I'm going to take a pause and so you can answer this. Does your body, mind, intellect exist in your deep, dreamless sleep? What do you think? And some of you might be answering, yes, my body exists. And some of you saying, oh no, my body doesn't exist, my mind doesn't exist, because I don't know if I'm awake. So here's the thing. Your body doesn't exist in your deep sleep because if I ask you that question, you won't even answer me. So, because you're in deep sleep, you're not even aware that I'm asking you the question, does your body exist? So when do you know your body exists? Only when you wake up and you wake up and you're like, wait, I was just sleeping. So I must have been in deep sleep. So here's the body after you wake up. But when you're sleeping, you wouldn't know that until, we call it that inference. Because you woke up, oh, you must be sleeping, but actually in your deep sleep, your body doesn't exist, your mind doesn't exist, your intellect doesn't exist, because there's nobody there. But how do you know you still exist though as a human being? Only way that you exist is somebody sees you sleeping and they can see that you're still breathing. So that's usually how people know that you still exist. But if your breath is gone and you're not breathing, you're dead, then they would say that you are dead, but your body is still there. So it's a very complicated thinking here, but this is what I'm talking about. Jnana Yoga becomes very heavy and intellectual, complicated, so I want you to stay with me. I want to make it simple and easy, but like anything else, if you want to achieve some great achievement like becoming enlightened and be happy and peaceful forever, it's not going to be easy, but at the same time, if you have that desire, then you can definitely achieve it. So going back to the beginning of Jnana Yoga, what we normally suggest for students is to have 4 qualifications, and we call it the 4 Ds. And these are like the fundamental requirements for you to be a true student of Jnana Yoga. And those 4 Ds is discrimination, desire, dispassion, and discipline. And they could be in any order you want it to be, but each one kind of interconnected to each other. So for example, discrimination is basically knowing the difference between the trivial, that means like useless things, like things that doesn't really contribute to our happiness or contribute to our well-being, but we do them anyway. Those trivial things like nonsense, stupid things that we get involved in, we shouldn't get involved in. You should know the difference between the trivial and the eternal, or the most important, which is having peace and joy and happiness, compassion, love. So you need to know the difference between not important and the important, and you need to be able to get rid of all the not important, the trivial stuff, so that you only have the important stuff to think about. So that's called discrimination. So it's almost like if you had 100 doors to walk through, you're going to have to find out which door that is actually is the important door, the happiness, love, peace, those kind of important door, and you want to close all the other 99 doors and only walk through that happiness door. So you need to really know. Just look at your life in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What are you doing with your time? Are you spending time with silly things, stupid things, things that don't contribute to your happiness and well-being and peace and joy and love? Or you spending too much time on that silly things that don't really contribute to your life? For example, my favorite is television. Watching way too much television. What does it really contribute to you being well off? Financially, spiritually, love, health. It doesn't really contribute to that. So watching too much TV is absolutely a trivial thing, and you should get rid of it. Same thing with people that distract you with drugs and alcohol and all these other things, and that doesn't really contribute to your happiness. Matter of fact, it actually makes you an addict. So you want to get rid of those people that influence you in a bad way, those trivial people, trivial things, and trivial habits. You gotta get rid of them, shut them down, and you want to focus on the most important aspects, which is complete happiness, complete peace, joy, compassion, and love, things like that. And you want to kind of only focus on how to achieve those. So that's called discrimination. And the next one is dispassion. Do you have the dispassion? Dispassion is similar to passion. If you want to be a passionate anything, like a filmmaker, or a passionate like artist, like a singer or a doctor or engineer, a computer guy, if you have passion for something, you're going to go after it, right? So same way, dispassion is similar, except instead of acquiring something, you're going to reject it. In other words, have dispassion to reject the trivial, the nonsense, the stupid things that we get involved by mistake. We need to dispassionately reject them. As passionately you want to achieve, you want to dispassionately reject and push away the trivial stuff so that you have time for the important stuff. So that's very important. And then the third thing is discipline. You have to have such good discipline that you really focus on continuing the practice that is helping you, improving. So I want you to continue to watch these videos over and over again. Make it a habit. Have the discipline to watch it maybe once a day or once every other day or at least once a week. Something where it reminds you over and over what's important, and you can follow discipline. Use the discipline to follow what's important, and then get rid of what's not important. And then the last one is desire. You have to have strong desire, just like you have strong desire to maybe fall in love and strong desire to find a perfect vacation spot, and our strong desire to have this perfect car that you always wanted, or whatever it is. Same way, you have to have strong desire to go after the eternal, the most important aspects of life, which is again happiness and health and well-being and financial, whatever it may be that's important to you. That means you have to have desire for that. If you don't have the desire for that, then all the distracting things, the trivial, unimportant things come in the way, and you don't have any desire for the most important stuff. You end up having desires for silly things that don't really make a difference, like, Pizza Hut or Burger King, or like these desires come in the way, and then they corrupt the most important desires. So you end up having all the little desires that are really not important, and you don't really care for it. You do it out of habit, but by having strong desire for the eternal, the most important, you end up eliminating all the other ones that are really not good for you anyway. So having a strong desire for one thing, or the most important thing, is actually automatically saying no to everything else, which is kind of a discrimination, like dispassion, like discipline. So they all kind of work together. So these four things, discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. Again, I'm going to repeat this again. You must have these requirements. You have to have discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire to reject the stupid, nonsense, trivial, useless things. You have to reject them all using these 4Ds, 4 requirements, and only use them for the most important, the eternal, the most important parts of your life, which is by far happiness. And that's what this Jnana Yoga is all about happiness. How can we use Jnana Yoga to achieve the ultimate happiness, which can only come from, like I said, extreme discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. So I hope you have it. If you don't have it, unfortunately, no matter what you do, you will not become enlightened, because it's this enlightenment, this achieving this ultimate self-realization is only meant for those select few individuals in the world that are qualified. So I'm hoping that you're a qualified student, that ultimately you will achieve this enlightenment and this eternal bliss. But if some reason you don't have it, at least I'm hoping it will give you a little better life than what you have now. So you could still use it, but this is really meant for those who are sick and tired of suffering and they just can't take suffering anymore. And those usually end up being the right students because they have something they really want. Because those who are like still having these pleasures and parties and eating bad and doing all this, and they're not really suffering, they are suffering but they don't want to, they're too lazy, those are not the ones who are fit for enlightenment. The ones who are fit for enlightenment are those who seriously, sincerely want to be happy forever, not momentary. They're sick and tired of marriages and divorces, or sick and tired of losing jobs, getting other jobs that they're not happy with, or relationships that are not working out, or the problems with parents and kids. And so there's ongoing these problems that they're sick and tired of, and these are the people that really want a permanent solution so they can be happy forever no matter what's happening. And these are the students that really will work hard to follow this Jnana Yoga and hopefully achieve the enlightenment and that permanent happiness, that absolute happiness and eternal peace that you're looking for. That's what's going to happen if you are the true student. And I'm hoping that you are watching this video or listening to it means you may have the seed for enlightenment, and hope that someday through these videos and writings that you will achieve your ultimate goal, which is self-realization. Matter of fact, there was a research that was done where someone asked a enlightened being in China, a Zen Buddhist monk, how many enlightened beings were ever born in China, in the history of China. And if you look at all those are born in China, let's just say hypothetically 1 billion, 2 billion people that have ever been there, only 1,000 people has ever been enlightened. That is a very, very small population compared to the number of people that are born. It's like 0.0000000, like 7 zeros, 1%. That's how much percentage of enlightened beings were ever born in China. So if you look at how rare that is throughout the world, you can imagine why not everybody is qualified to be an enlightened being, because it naturally is that way. It's like not many people have the capacity to follow Jnana Yoga, to follow this discipline every morning, actually maintain their spiritual practice and keep learning, watching these videos. Very few will do it, but those few that do it are the luckiest people, and we need more and more of those people on this planet who are selflessly giving and smiling and happy and want to help others. And we need more of those people. So that's why I'm doing these videos, so that hopefully somewhere in the remote part of some world somebody finds these videos and hopefully follow along and awaken to their real self, because they have what it takes. They have the 4 Ds, the disciplines that require to become a true student of Jnana Yoga, the knowledge of the ultimate. So currently, somebody asked another question, currently how many people are enlightened beings in China? It's also a shocking answer. It's only 12 people in entire China of almost 2 billion people, or 1.5 billion people. Only 12 people are enlightened beings in China. So that is the rarest of rarest number percentage-wise. So you can see how hard it is to become enlightened, because you need that steady determination and that discipline, desire, dispassion, discrimination to really follow along. Just like working out, trying to get six-pack abs, I mean, it takes a year, 2 years. If you really work hard, that's when you really get it. So it's kind of like that. In anything in life, even if you want to be a doctor, you have to study for 8 to 12 years to become a doctor. So you know how that works. So I hope you take this seriously and become passionate and have that discipline and desire really to kind of follow along, and hopefully you'll learn from these videos and audio and the writings on the blog. So what else can we talk about today? There's many things to talk about, but to keep it very simple and easy for the beginners, what's very important for you to really grasp is that you have to lose something to gain something. So Jnana Yoga is the same way. If you really want to become enlightened and you really want to be happy forever and never suffer again, you really need to sacrifice some other things, because you cannot have something and not lose everything you have. For example, if you really love somebody and you've fallen in love and you are a hopeless romantic and you want to marry this beautiful girl, guess what? You have to sacrifice your bachelorhood, your bachelor days of freedom and going to clubs late at night and stay up as late as you want, partying at home, drinking and all that stuff. That bachelorhood lifestyle has to be sacrificed, because marriage comes with you being committed. You can't go out whenever you want. You have to be courteous, and you have to tell your wife what's going on, and you have to really be a committed husband. And bachelors, that's a different life, so you have to kind of get rid of that. You can't have that and that. So in life you have to understand that if you really want to achieve something great like permanent happiness, you might have to lose something that you have that you may think you want, but you may have to lose it. So, for example, I said you have to discriminate all the trivial things. So if you watch a lot of TV, you may have to cut down a lot of that TV, because that's all nonsense. Like, it doesn't really contribute to your enlightenment. It actually is a mind snapper, mind sucker. It sucks out all your mind energy, because you're just watching, you're not intellectually doing anything but just observing something. So it doesn't really improve your life in any way. So kind of like that. So if you really want to watch something, maybe watch these videos. It's better than you learn something rather than learn actually 12,000 years of passed on knowledge that's been rewritten, re-experimented over and over, and tested like a scientist would test. It's all powerful knowledge. So you might as well watch this and then reduce some of your watching of TV. So you lose the entertainment of some of that TV to gain happiness that you're looking for. So in life, that's very important. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to gain the eternal happiness and peace and bliss? So I hope you can find a way to make a list of things that are trivial, not important, not contributing to your well-being and happiness, and maybe you can get rid of them slowly. If it's too fast for you, just kind of start cutting them off, so you can start focusing, have that discrimination to focus on the eternal, the most important aspects of your life, which is happiness, peace, health and well-being, financial stability. All these other things are more important to you. So why spend time doing things that are not really important, especially friends who may distract you and may take you away to some momentary pleasurable things like drinking in a bar and blah blah blah, but they don't really contribute. So you may want to cut down on those, have it once in a while maybe, but really focus on learning more about yourself. Who am I? What am I? Why am I feeling this way? Why can't I feel any better than what I'm feeling? Like, what is wrong with my life, and how can I improve my life? These are the questions you should focus on, and not focus on short-term pleasures. So I would say get ready to sacrifice things that are not good for you in order for you to have things that you they're good for you, that are important for you, like happiness, love, and peace. Again, I'm repeating a lot of things. Why am I repeating over and over? Because you need to remember it. Repetition helps you remember it. If you just read it one time, if I asked you, what are the 4Ds? Chances are, if I asked you right now and took a pause, what are the 4Ds? Can you say it? Go ahead and try to tell me the 4Ds that are required, and I'll give you a clue. Discrimination is the first one. What are the other 3? So I hope you remembered it, but if you didn't remember it, it's because I might have said it only a couple times. So I'm going to say it again so that you can remember. This is the only way to learn and kind of keep this information. Another thing is, you should also share what you're learning with someone else so that you can remember, because the best way to learn something is actually to teach somebody what you learn, and that's the best way. That's like the learning triangle, and teaching is that by far the best way to retain information. So the 4Ds again is discrimination, dispassion, discipline, and desire. So I hope you can repeat that and remember that. So use those 4Ds to get rid of the trivial, the nonsense, the things that don't contribute to your happiness, and then so that you can use that energy, only focus on the ones that are good for you, which is happiness, peace, and health and well-being. So I hope today's video has given you some insight into what Jnana Yoga is and how this knowledge is going to help you ultimately reach that place of permanent happiness, not momentary happiness.